Eileen Record sits at her kitchen table in Ladysmith, British Columbia, sifting through forms that have become a regular part of her life. They're not applications for travel or recreation, but for something far more basic: help. Gary and Eileen are billed $54.42 a day, almost $20,000 a year, because all their income is pensions, so they miss the $300 a month cap. Their only relief is filing a temporary rate reduction while they decide if Gary can stay at home. Eileen and Gary paid into the system their whole lives, but now home support costs are forcing painful choices: cutting back on food, caregiver help, even using a tax refund meant for car insurance just to stay afloat. Eileen wants to keep Gary at home. He's her husband, not just a patient. But Gary's dementia is worsening, and even basic daily care is becoming harder to manage. Without help, they face an impossible choice: go into debt or move Gary into a nursing home neither of them wants. This is happening across BC, and here's the irony: it often costs the system more to institutionalize someone like Gary than to support him at home. Home support is a fraction of the cost of long-term care and dramatically cheaper than a hospital bed. A small investment now could save the province millions and give families like Eileen and Gary a little more time together. Gary's unexpected fall surprised Eileen. A quiet stumble in the living room. Nothing dramatic, but enough to bring the ambulance. Now he's stable in the hospital, confused, but physically fine. The doctors say he'll be ready for discharge tomorrow. Eileen stands by the window at dusk, watching the last of the light stretch across their yard. She's told he can go to a long-term care facility. A spot has opened up. It would cost her less, much less, and it certainly would be easier. Meals, bathing, medical help, all bundled in, all subsidized. But she also knows what Gary wants, what they wanted: to stay in their home. Gary and Eileen's story isn't unique. When Eileen couldn't get enough funded home support, she faced a terrible choice: pay thousands out of pocket or risk Gary being placed in long-term care far earlier than needed. If Gary couldn't return home, he'd join thousands of others stuck in hospital beds, simply waiting. Right here in Vancouver Coastal, that cost taxpayers $73 million last year. Add Interior, Fraser, Island, and Northern Health, and British Columbia spent nearly $500 million keeping people like Gary in the wrong place. Eileen wants Gary to stay at home, and Gary wants to be there too. With just 1 hour of home support a day, the cost is about $14,000 a year, making it an affordable way to help people like Gary stay where they belong. Even 6 hours of support a day, around $90,000 a year, is still far less than the cost of a nursing home placement. And 8 hours a day, approximately $110,000 a year, is comparable to, or less than, the cost of building and running a single new long-term care bed. If Gary hadn't recovered, he might have ended up waiting in the hospital in an ALC bed for a long-term care bed, one of thousands stuck in limbo. The chart shows what's coming. Without more home care, BC could be short over 30,000 beds by 2040. That's not just a crisis for the system. It's a personal disaster for couples like Gary and Eileen, who are left with no good options and rising out-of-pocket costs. Imagine this: Instead of pouring money into building more nursing homes, what if we supported people to age at home where over 95% of them actually want to be? One nursing home bed can cost $1 million or more upfront, plus ongoing expenses. Home support at just $90,000 to $113,000 a year. That's over $870,000 saved per person across 5 years. Home support isn't just the right thing to do, it's the smart thing to do. Gary would much rather stay at home, and that's actually the more affordable option for the system too. 6 hours of home support costs about $240 a day. If Gary were moved to a long-term care facility, that would rise to $270 or more per day, mostly covered by the government. And if he ended up stuck in hospital in an ALC bed, taxpayers could be on the hook for close to $1,000 a day. If Gary would have been admitted to long-term care, the government would cover about $80,000 a year. And that doesn't include what Gary and Eileen would be responsible for. Compare that to home support. If Gary only needs a few hours a day, the public cost is much lower, just $14,000 to $56,000 a year. Gary wants to stay at home. Eileen wants him there too. But today, the cost of home care often falls squarely on families, making it an unaffordable burden for many. Without better public support, families like Gary and Eileen are left to shoulder the expense alone, even though keeping someone at home can cost far less than a nursing home placement, even with 4 hours of home support each day. When we invest in home support, we save in every direction. We reduce the need to build expensive new nursing home beds, saving hundreds of thousands of dollars per bed. We keep hospital beds open by preventing unnecessary admissions. We avoid costly and complicated long-term care placements for people who don't truly need them. Home support should be simple and accessible. No sliding scales, no income verifications, no forms to divide earned from passive income. Just support, delivered where it's needed most, at home. Seniors want to stay at home. Their families want to help. But too often, financial barriers make that impossible. The Jewish Seniors Alliance of British Columbia is asking our elected officials to make accessible, government-funded home support a top priority. It's a solution that respects both family responsibility and taxpayer dollars. Supporting seniors at home improves health outcomes, reduces strain on long-term care facilities, and costs less. It's a practical, compassionate, and fiscally responsible alternative to building more institutional beds. Let's use public funds where they deliver the most value, at home. The Jewish Seniors Alliance of British Columbia is a volunteer-driven organization dedicated to advocating for the dignity, independence, and well-being of older adults. Founded over 20 years ago, JSA connects with seniors through both outreach and advocacy. Its outreach arm offers friendly visits to disadvantaged seniors, while its advocacy committee produces practical guides and campaigns for barrier-free access to essential care, like home health support. With deep roots in the Jewish community, but a reach that extends beyond, the Alliance stands as a voice for those who are often unheard. JSA believes that every senior deserves to age in place, in safety, and with respect.